Now that we have a clean implementation for the UI when the cart is empty, now we have to look at when the cart actually has items. And so the first thing, the easiest thing we can do is go play around with the restaurant, right? We can go and fix up the way that's going to look. And the way to do that for us is take this away, and very simply, what we need to do is render out the restaurant info card. And what we give it is the restaurant. And if we set that equal to the restaurant, what we have now is a fully fledged feature, right? So if we go over here and we were to say, import the restaurant info card, and we did that from .. and then .. and we went to restaurants and we went to the components, then we could say restaurant info card.component. So we're importing a component from a different feature. Now this typically would mean that you would kind of split it out in some way. I prefer to keep it in the feature because it's only being reused for visualization purposes. It's not really doing anything with it here. So what we can see here is if I went ahead and I took this and I ordered a special, boom, that easy. And now this UI looks amazing, right? It's already so much cleaner just by doing that one simple thing. But now our cart really doesn't look all that nice, does it? It doesn't look special at all. It doesn't look like it's doing anything out of the ordinary. So the first thing we're going to do over here is we're going to take a scroll view, right? We're going to take a scroll view from React Native. And the reason we're going to do that is because we want this interface below the card to be interactive, because this takes up a lot of space already. So we want to make sure that we have, the proper amount of interaction available for the user to be able to scroll, because this is kind of a limited space right here. Now, what we need to do is take our credit card input, also put it inside there, of course. And now we can start building up what the cart should look like, right? And what the cart should look like is, first of all, we need to use some spacers, don't we? So what we want to do here is we want to say, put a spacer here and wrap it around this text. But will that make it look nice? Well, let's take a look. Right here, we put the spacer. Let's order something, and it's spacing it from the top. So the first thing we want to do is we want to say, space it from the left. So we say position is equal to left. And then we say the size is equal to medium. And that'll indent it a bit from the side. Okay, now that we've done that, what we want to do is add some kind of title. So there's really not much space between the top here and the text here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say a top large. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a spacer here. And what we're going to do with that spacer is we're going to put some text inside of it. And that text is going to be our actual title. And what the title is going to be is your order. Your order. That's what it's going to say. So over here is where we'll start building up our order. Okay, so how do we do that? What does that look like? Well, we need to use some stuff that we would get from React Native paper. First of all, we need the list. So let's import list, and let's do that from React Native paper. And if we take the list, what we can do now is we can take our cart, right? Because our cart is actually a array. We'll do a list.section here. And inside of that list.section is where we'll do an actual map over our cart to figure out what exactly is in our cart. So we do cart.map, and then we get an item. And inside of that item is what we can consider to be our list.item. So what is going to be in our list item? Well, this is a good question, because right now we're just mapping over it. We're not really returning anything. What should be in our list item? Well, we could say that the title is equal to price, item.price. And let's see what that does. So if we do that and we order $12.99. Okay. So that doesn't look fairly right. So let's divide that by 100. And so now we're getting the right price. Okay. So maybe we'll put this in a template string. And then we can start building up like more of a dynamic string situation here. So then let's put in item.name, right? Is that what we called it? Oh no, we called it item.item. So should this actually be called item? Well, let's just destructure item off of here and price. And that way we don't need to do a dot at all. And so now, special, $12.99. Well, that looks much better already, doesn't it? So right here, we've kind of built out this ability. Now, if I order a second special, and a third special, a fourth special, and a fifth special, now you can see that my order is spacing them out appropriately. And that looks way, way, way better. Now we could go and say, like, let's change it up and add a sum, right? Because we see all the individual items, but we don't really see what the total is. So if we say const sum, set sum is equal to use state, and we'll set it to 0 to begin with, and then we'll import use state from React. Now we can start building up a sum. Now, how are we going to visualize that sum? Well, right here outside of our list section, what we can do is we can say text, and then we can say total, and we'll put sum right here, and we'll do /text. Now, how do we calculate the sum? Well, if we add something to the cart, right now it's set to 0. Our total is 0. So how could we go about calculating the sum? Well, one of the ways we could do that is through, you guessed it, a use effect, right? And if we grab a use effect and we put it right up here in the cart, and we say, run this use effect when the user cart changes. So anytime the cart changes, run this use effect. What we can do then is we can say something along the lines of, if you do not have a cart.length, then set the sum to 0. If you do have a cart length, what you want to do is say something more complicated. We can do set sum, and over here, obviously, we need to return in this case because we don't want to go ahead and do this otherwise. So otherwise, what we want to do is do cart.reduce, and the reduce function takes in an accumulator and then returns the object, the item that we're accumulating against. So this would contain then item and price. What we need is price. And what we could say here is that once we take that accumulator and that price, we can run a function, right? And that function can do something for us. So right here, this is our accumulator. So what we could say here is that, let's take this out of here. Const new sum is equal to this. Let's set it by default to 0. And then let's say return accumulator plus equals the price. And by doing this, now we can set the sum to new sum. And by doing that, what we'll see over here is $12.99. Now the last thing we need to do is also divide sum by 100 to get the actual price. And now if we add multiple things to our cart, you can see the sum updating. So we're getting a new total each time. Now you may be asking yourself the question, Mo, why isn't this logic in the cart context? Well, you could argue that the sum of the cart is part of the cart context. But depending on where you want to put it, I felt like the checkout screen could handle this. Now, in essence, what you could also do is say, take this code directly from here, like all of this, and you could take in the sum from here, and then you could go to cart context, and you could do a very simple implementation right over here, where you take in the sum, and you return the sum, and boom, there you go. You've cleaned it up. So if we go over here now, and you do this, $12.99, $25.94, and so forth. So we started off in the checkout screen with this sum action, and then we thought to ourselves, shouldn't this belong to the cart context? Yeah, it should. be way cleaner if it just came from the cart, right? The sum of the cart. Yeah, for sure. So it's about making those trade-offs and making sure that you make the right decisions here. And so now that we have the majority of the cart showing here, right? And we have everything we need in order to kind of say, hey, this is the cart, this is what we're ordering. Can we start building our payment flow? Maybe. We're definitely close. Maybe we should start looking at that.